Sorry, guys. We'll start in like 10 minutes ish. So I'll be here. Unmute. Is that too dark? Or is that okay? It's okay? Okay, perfect. I think maybe I'll just get started now. Thank you all of you guys for coming. Today we'll basically talk about how to use Leetcode effectively to study for interviews, and also a lot about some of the common data structures and algorithms. So I'll go over today's itinerary, and this is basically what we'll be covering. I'll give a quick introduction about myself. Then I'll talk about what technical interviews are and why they're so important. I'll go into a little bit about Leetcode and just introduce you guys, if you guys don't have an account, how to get started with it and how to open an account. And then after that, I'm going to talk a little bit about practice and how you should practice for these problems, like the fastest way to get good at Leetcode problems and interview style problems as well. And then we'll break into a few breakout groups. So I got a task for all of you guys. If you guys have a laptop, you guys can pull it out then. But if you guys don't, you guys can also work in groups. There'll just be a few Leetcode questions that I get back. Then at the very end, I have some resources. Make sure you guys take a picture of the resource page. I think that these slides will be posted, but these resources are pretty good and will help you a lot in getting better. And then finally, at the end, if you guys have some questions, I'll be here to answer it. Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, so hi, I'm Jesse. I'm a fourth-year computer science specialist here at the University of Toronto. I'm also a teaching assistant for the theory of computation. So I'm not sure if any of you guys are in that course, but it's CSC 236. Yeah, I mean, that's just a little bit of an introduction about myself. Okay, so what are technical interviews? Just go to the next one. So yeah, technical interviews are basically just challenges designed to assess like a candidate's ability to problem solve. And also these are usually given through different algorithmic challenges. And then there are usually three types of them. So there's an online assessment, and this is usually just a quick that they'll hand out. So they'll usually email these in batches. And when they email these in batches, you'll be able to see like, okay, how is my coding ability? And usually these are just used to screen through a lot of like candidates, see how good they are, and weed out the people that they really don't want right off the bat. So these are usually paired with resume reviews. And then there's a phone interview. So if they think that your resume is good and you did fairly decent in your online assessment, then what happened is they'll probably give you a phone interview. And over this will just be like a voice call. And in the voice call, they'll also ask you to solve a Leetcode problem or a interview style problem. And they'll just be voice-based basically. And then finally, the on-site interview is when you go to the company and you meet head-to-head with a hiring manager or one of the managers for one of the engineering teams, and then they'll assess your ability to problem solve, or sometimes they'll just have a chat with you. So those are like the three main stages of the technical interview. Okay, so getting started with Leetcode. Leetcode is basically this online platform that you can practice a ton of algorithmic and coding challenges. It's a very great resource. I think most of you guys have heard of it. I'm not really here to spread the gospel about Leetcode, but more or less, I'm going to give you guys resources to get really good at Leetcode. So that way you guys will do better in your interview prep. To get started on Leetcode are very simple. Just go to leetcode.com. You'll create an account in the top right corner, and then you can start with one of the easiest questions like FizzBuzz or TwoSum. It'll just be something that's fun and easy for you to solve. Okay, and then deliberate practice. This is just something that I wanted to like maybe tell you guys because I spent a very long time trying to study how to get better at improving, because I see that when you study, sometimes you'll hit a plateau and you won't be able to break through this plateau. So I'm not sure if you guys have done Leetcode contests before, but it's basically every week they'll host a contest where you do 4 different problems ranging from easy all the way to hard. And I remember at the start, I would very often get stuck on the easy problems and I didn't know how to break through it. So this is like the key. I'll go a little bit into depth on how you should deliberately practice to get better. All right, so this is one of my favorite quotes by Cal Newport. He studied CS at MIT and he had a perfect 4.0. And he's now a professor at Georgetown, I believe, but I might be wrong about that. But this is a good quote. He says, "There's a huge difference between doing work and useful work. If you're not putting a lot of thought into navigating this distinction, you're probably in the former. So what this basically means is that if you're not really thinking about how to deliberately practice, you're probably just opening up Leetcode, listening to music, and then going about a few problems before looking at the solution. And this is a very bad way to study. A better way is on the next slide. And basically, how you should study should be based on two main things. One of them is the schedule, and the other one is how you actually practice during that time in your schedule. As far as your schedules go, the first point is that hours matter, but it depends on your schedule. So everyone has different hours here, right? Everyone's a student. Well, I'm assuming everyone here is a student. And if you are, you're probably putting a lot of time into schoolwork. So although hours do matter, and you should put as much of it as you can, I understand that if you guys have other responsibilities, you should at least try to fit in some extra hours when you get the opportunity. The second one is that early hours give you a better bang for your buck. I put a little star here. I'm just gonna say I always thought that I was like a night owl and that I study better at night. But maybe give it a shot. If you work in the morning, usually you have a better cognitive workload and you'll be able to solve problems more efficiently and put more focus onto those problems. So you'll be thinking more straight, and then during the interview, you'll see that, okay, you've learned these algorithms a lot faster than other people. And then the last one is kind of like a routine-based tip. So you should probably create a habit where you start at the same time every day, and you should do this every single day. Just because it'll be more of a habit than you actually have to think about, okay, I have to lead code today. Instead, it'll just be like, okay, it's at 4 o'clock. I have a 2-hour block from 4 to 6. I might as well go on Leetcode, and it's just going to become a habit. So you won't have to spend any time deciding to do it. As far as practice goes, I have like 4 main tips. The first one is that you should keep track of all the problems that you solve in a spreadsheet, or you should keep them in a folder on your desktop. The reason why is it'll be in the fourth tip as well, but this is just one of the tips. So keep a spreadsheet to track all the Leetcode problems that you did. And one of the key things is that you should mark whether you passed it on your first try, or if you solved it with the editorial, or if you can solve it at all, even with the help of an editorial. Again, I'll come back to it in the 4th point, but that's something that's very important to keep in mind. For the 2nd point, I said that you should attempt problems for at least 15 to 30 minutes. The reason why I say this is that a lot of people might look at a problem and they'll just look through it. They won't really give it too much thought, but they'll want to look at the solution because it's uncomfortable to have to think and work through the problem and not be able to solve it. So by attempting it for 15 to 30 minutes before you look at the solution, at least you're giving your brain a chance to try and process the information that you're trying to figure out. And also, if you do manage to solve it within those 15 to 30 minutes, it'll stick with you for a very long time because you came up with it yourself. Thirdly, you should check the editorial even if you're right. So this is just the solutions tab. And the reason is that a lot of people have really good and clean coded solutions. So if you look through it, you'll be able to find out some tips that you might have never known. I'll give you an example. So I'm not sure how many of you guys know the default dictionary import from the Python standard library, but basically you can create a dictionary that even if the key doesn't exist, it'll have a default value. And then you'll see that in a lot of problems in Leetcode, people will use this default dictionary to make their code a lot more clean. Lastly, not all problems are created equal, so revise often. In the resource in the final section, I'll give you guys a great list of problems, and these list of problems should be the primary problems that you focus your time on. The reason why is because these problems will cover patterns that are going to be recognized in probably 80 to 90% of all coding problems. So understanding these patterns will allow you to solve a lot of problems, right? If you just focus on one hard problem that might have some unique tricks that won't ever be used again, it probably won't be that helpful when you're trying to do more problems in the interviews. Okay, now we're gonna go into the breakout groups. You guys can get in groups of 3, or if you guys have a computer, you guys can work on it yourself. Or we'll just look at the next slide. Yeah, I'll show them in a sec, but I'll just let them open it first. Okay. They're good. Good.
Open up a folder named Doki Doki Literature by accident. Yeah.
If you guys are on Mac, I'll walk through it as well. But if you guys are on Windows, it might be a little bit different.
I think we're running with you criminal code in the directory to run it like they run a Mac.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Yeah, if you have git bash, it's a little bit easier, but I think command prompt works as well.
I think with Linux looks the same, right? Because Mac and Linux.
Linux is okay, yeah. I didn't write Linux, but Mac and Linux always.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, yeah. Very good. Yeah, it's so cool. It's a good presentation. Yeah, it was so. Everybody was listening in on, and they're pretty like solid advice.
It's just things that I found like while I was working through it, but. All right, I'll walk through how to do the steps as well as in case you guys are like stuck. Basically, if you guys haven't already, you guys want to type in this link in a separate tab, right? And when you type in this link, it's going to download a file here called Leetcode, right? Right. So you'll get something called Leetcode, and then what was this? After you get this Leetcode, you want to unzip it and open up this folder here. Okay. And then you guys want to open something like a command prompt. Okay. So after you guys open a command prompt, you guys can use CMD, I believe. I'm not really a Windows user, so I'm not too sure. But if you guys are on Mac, you guys can open terminal. And then you guys want to CD into your downloads folder and into Leetcode. So you guys will probably be greeted with something that looks like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to CD into your downloads folder. And then you're going to CD into your workshop. So, oh, sorry, it's called Leetcode. All right. And after you CD into Leetcode, you're going to want to write in Python 3 workshop.py. If you guys have Python installed.
Oh, you have to extract it.
Go ahead, what'd you say? Oh, the site link here.
Yeah.
Go to the settings manage. Manage it. I mean, you should always start with. Because if you get from the center, man, then you can't go up. But if you expect, you can do that. Always start with respect. You don't need to do it. Just get it done with it.
You can do it like anytime.
Yeah. But once you have the major, because I know something we chose major, it's stable. Now later they want to do spec, they can't because their GPU is.
It's DIR in Windows. Or change DIR. I think it's DIR. I don't really remember. I think it's DIR. Yeah, go ahead. You can also open it directly on the.
To like ask for.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all have to.
I'm taking you over to the bird for one. That's cool. It's cool. I love it.
All right. It looks like some of you guys are having trouble, so I might just load it on my screen. And you guys won't be able to see it.
You know, my friend and I.
All right. Okay, so we're just gonna run this and then see. You guys have it loaded up on your own computers, you guys can read it. But otherwise you guys can just read it through. Yeah. you should run Python 3 and then workshop, only if you have Python installed. And then it'll load everything. All right, so there's gonna be 3 links here. You guys take a picture of all 3 links, and then or you guys can enter the links onto your computer.
And we're going to start in the middle of a highway. It's on one thing, got a telescope.
But you guys can take a look at the problem. So these are the 3 problems that you want to take a look at. I'll zoom out in a bit so that you guys can all see it. So this is the first link. This is the second link. Okay. And this is the third link here. Finally, there's this last little block if you guys want to read what it says. Basically, if you guys finish the task, I'll give you back your access to your computers. But I'm gonna zoom in really quick to the 3 links so that you guys can see it, and then you guys can just load it up on your PCs and then work on it as a group. I'll go over the solutions really briefly, probably for 1 or 2 of them, depending on the amount of time I have. But honestly, there's editorials and solutions for it, so it's not too big of a deal. I'll kind of go through how I would go about solving the problem, though. So you guys just take 25 minutes to yourselves, or I guess 15 minutes. Turn the lighting on low. Yeah, or if you guys need help understanding the problem or any other questions, you guys can just call us over and then we'll help. Or I guess if you want to walk around anything, you know.
I mean, I'm down.
Oh wait, actually I need it on. Wait, hold on. Okay, let's maybe let's join back. Alright, so, I mean, maybe we'll go over the first one together. How many of you guys were able to solve it? Okay, maybe do some of you guys want to say your approaches? I'm looking for like two main approaches, but maybe if you guys want to go, or does anyone want to share their approach? Yeah, go ahead.
Return, or as and do a select notation, like.
Right.
Colon is -1.
Did that work? But it shouldn't work because there's a lot of this notation, right? You're not handling some cases where even if you do the like exact reverse of the string, it isn't actually a palindrome because you have to first sanitize the string, right?
So, but then I have to strip it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you sanitize the string, you change everything to, yeah, that's it. That would work. Yeah, exactly. So not sure if everyone heard what he said, but what you can do is you can sanitize the string. Right? And then after you sanitize the string, what you can do is you can reverse it by doing your string. Reversing it, right? And just checking if this is equal to the original string. Or your sanitized string, where S is your sanitized string, okay? This is like, I think a lot of people, I've heard some people talk about sanitizing the string, so I'm not sure if this is the only solution you guys came up with. Wondering if you guys had any other solutions for it? Yeah, go ahead.
I guess you can use kind of like a. It's gonna be like a space complexity issue again, maybe, but you can use like a list and then for each element in string, you can insert that element into the list. And then once you get halfway, you try to pop it, compare, it goes backwards the same way.
Oh, yeah, that would work as well. I didn't actually think that would also work. Yeah, that would work as well. I don't think anyone does it that way that I've seen, but that is a way that works. Another way that works is if you guys use 2 pointers, you guys can point to the first and last ones and just check if they're alphanumeric and then just compare their lowercase values. And that's just gonna be like the easiest way. So if both of these are A, lowercase a's, so we're just gonna make these lowercase to check that they're the same value, right? These are lowercase a's that we can move in, right? And when we move in, we realize something. If this one's not an alphanumeric character, then we keep moving in until we reach another alphanumeric character. And we keep comparing the values until we collide at the middle. If we do collide at the middle, that means we have a palindrome. If we don't, that means somewhere along the line, 2 values did not match, so they weren't like a palindrome. Yeah, and then also, so basically that's like the steps you would go through for Leetcode problems. Just look through it, try and solve it for 10 to 15 minutes, or I guess 15 to 30 minutes. And then after you try and solve it for a while, if you can't figure it out, go ahead and go into the solutions. And then there's a great little like section here where you can click on what language you use. So I use Python and Java, but you can just click Python here and you'll see all Python solutions. Another good thing to note here is like a lot of you guys might want to read the titles because the titles will give you a hint where it's enough for you to solve the problem. So you guys can see, okay, here it says 2 pointers approach, right? And then after you think, okay, maybe I can use 2 pointers for this. How would I apply it? And then you try and solve it yourself. You'll have a lot more intuition on how you solve it yourself rather than just looking at a solution, right? So you don't have to just look at the solution and click into it. You can go ahead and use this as hints. So some of them say you use 2 pointers. This one has 2 solutions, and you guys can see it says 2 pointers there. So you guys might think, okay, how can I use 2 pointers to solve this? Right? All right, resources. You guys should take a picture of this, or you guys can reference the slides after. I'm just saying take a picture because most likely you guys won't open up your computers again just to come back on the slide. So I'd recommend taking a picture of these. These are very important resources to use. I'll just go through them one by one. The first one is the best resource of all time for this. It's called leetcode.io. Basically, Leetcode is this YouTuber who makes a lot of Python solutions for a bunch of problems, and he explains it very clearly. But Leetcode.io is going to be a resource of the most common questions that you'll ever see. Just for insight, Leetcode is one of the software engineers at Google, so he does have a good experience with understanding these topics. Another one here is Sean Prashad's Leetcode patterns. You guys make sure to take a look at this one as well. It's going to tell you all the problems that you really need, or all the patterns that you really need to ace a coding interview. So you go through this, these, each one of them might take you 2 months, 3 months, but it's going to be really worth it because you're going to understand it much faster than someone who just does problems at random. Okay. There's this tech interview handbook. This is a little bit off topic, but you guys should check this one out as well. It's completely free, but I'll tell you how to negotiate. It'll tell you how to write resumes, and I'll tell you how to also like ace the behavioral interview as well. So it's just going to give you a great guide on how to go through the entire interview process step by step, especially if some of you guys have never really had an interview before. This is the GDSC Discord. Abdullah, not sure if Abdullah's here anymore. He was the guy with the camera, but me and him are going to plan a spring hiring workshop basically in the winter semester. So sometime in the first or second week of the winter semester, we'll host this, and it's going to be resume roasts, mock interviews. There'll be more one-on-one guides on how to solve problems, just that sort of stuff. If you guys are interested, just to get you guys ready for spring hiring, or yeah, just if you guys want internships or something, I guess take a look at that. Finally, I'm going to reserve like the last 5 minutes for a Q&A. If you guys have questions, you guys can come ahead and pop up here. If you guys don't, thank you for all being quiet and participating. Yeah, it was really pleasurable helping you guys. Yeah, go ahead.
I would divide programming problems into 2 categories, like more theoretical versus more practical.
Yeah.
And so would you say that like, I haven't used Leetcode before, so would you say that the questions on Leetcode are more like theory based?
Yes.
Like,
Right. So basically, to solve a Leetcode problem, you kind of have to understand the theory and intuition behind something. So for example, I explained 2 pointers, but there's also going to be things like heaps in there, right? So I know you graduated, so you've done a lot of these problems before. But like, for example, heaps, you've learned about it in your data structures and algorithms classes. You have to understand the theory pretty well, and you have to understand the runtime of it in order to solve these problems, right? So what I would say is that theoretically, you should try and understand how these data structures really work and how these algorithms work. And then when you go into Leetcode, you'll be able to practice it at a very in-depth level. So if you understand how to code it out, you'll probably be able to explain how it works in an interview as well, right? So I'd say that Leetcode is a pretty good resource for both theoretical and actually coding out the stuff. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, just press Command Q. Yeah, you're good. I'll be up here if you guys want to ask questions, but don't want to ask in front of everyone else. Otherwise, you guys are free to go. Thank you so much.